Okay, all right, let's get into it. Pastor Steve, my first question is this. Can you explain the biblical meaning of good works? I know a lot of people that attribute works to salvation and others that don't think you have to do anything as a Christian.
Yeah. I can't, but Jesus can. And so let me give you a quote.
Okay.
This is a cool passage. Jesus is talking to a group of people. Actually, it's the 5,000. You know when he fed the 5,000? He's talking to these guys the next day because they're following him around looking for a free lunch, and so they 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 begin having this conversation. And Jesus, this is in John chapter 6, in verse 26. Jesus answered them and said, "Most assuredly I say to you, you seek me not because you saw the signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Do not labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God the Father has set his seal on him." And then they said to him, "What shall we do that we may work the works of God?" And so this is a passage where they ask him the question, what are the works of God that we need to do? And it's a perfect opportunity for the Lord to say, okay, these are the works of God. You need to spend at least 50 weekends in church, and you need to pray for 45 minutes per day, at least 3 days a week. And he could go through and do this whole list of things, but this is what he says. Jesus answered and said to them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he sent." And they said, then it says, "Therefore they said to him, 'What sign will you perform then, that we may see it and believe you? What work will you do? Our fathers ate manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat.'" And Jesus says, "Most assuredly I say to you, Moses didn't give you the bread from heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." And they said, "Lord, give us this bread always." And he said, "I'm the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst." And so according to Jesus, the work of God, the thing that we're supposed to be doing as Christians, is believing on the one that God sent. And that word believe means to trust in, to rely on, and cling to. And that is the work that a Christian is called to. And it's the one work that I can do without doing anything, which is really interesting. Because it is work. I'm doing something, but it's the work that I can do literally without doing anything. I am trusting in the one that God sent. And that's what we're called to. Now, as you go through the Bible, the Bible talks about the fact that we need to be careful to maintain good works. That's a quote from Paul. And it's the idea of my lifestyle is something that's supposed to reflect my walk with God, but it's not the things that I do as a Christian are not the things that make me a Christian. What makes me a Christian is the fact that I've believed in Jesus and I'm trusting in him. He's changed my life, but there needs to be a change. And so whenever I talk about this stuff, I try to make it clear for people. And my favorite illustration is one I made up about trying to become a dolphin. A guy sees dolphins in the playing in the ocean this one time, so he decides he wants to become a dolphin, and so he goes out and swims with the dolphins. That doesn't make him a dolphin. I mean, it makes him a guy who's swimming with dolphins. And the fact that dolphins accept him and are nice to him doesn't make him a dolphin. It makes him a guy that the dolphins like. And so he knows that, so he puts on a dolphin suit. That doesn't make him a dolphin either. He can eat like a dolphin. He can squeak like a dolphin. He can have a hole drilled in the back of his head and breathe like a dolphin, and he can look like a dolphin. He can do everything that a dolphin does, and he's never going to be a dolphin. He's a guy pretending to be a dolphin. And that's the difference between working for salvation and God coming in and doing a miraculous change in your life. The only way that man is ever going to become a dolphin is by a miracle. And that's exactly what happens with a Christian. You believe on Christ, there's a miracle that takes place where the God of the universe comes to live inside of you. And now you do all the things that dolphins do. A dolphin is not a dolphin because it eats fish. A dolphin eats fish because it's a dolphin. And there's a difference between the two. And a dolphin does not have a long, bottle nose because it's trying to have a long bottle nose to be a dolphin. It's just one of the aspects of being a dolphin. It has a dolphin nose because it's a dolphin. And you have the same thing with every aspect of what it means to be a dolphin, and it's exactly the same thing with a Christian. Reading a Bible doesn't make you a Christian, but Christians read their Bibles. And praying doesn't make you a Christian, but Christians pray. And going to church doesn't make you a Christian, but Christians go to church. And so coming at it from the whole idea of doing works to make you something is exactly the opposite of what the Bible talks about. I need to be trusting in Christ. He comes into my heart, and then all of a sudden I want to start doing the things that God calls me to. So,
do you think that in our generation, well, this is what I think, that and I see this from people who even just have like private businesses and stuff. We have a generation that's just so lazy. They don't want to get out and work for anything. Mm-hmm. And obviously the correct doctrine on salvation is that we don't earn it, and it's Jesus does everything. Mm-hmm. There's nothing we can do to get into heaven.
Right. And
it seems like you combine that with our generation, and we have a church that just sits, that just sits in the pews and does nothing, when you have even the cults going out, and it seems, and I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush, as you say, but you see them, and they're out there working and do all that stuff, and then you have the saved guy that's just chilling.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I don't think it's a problem just with the generation that we have nowadays, because everybody's been talking about that for every generation that I've seen since I got saved.
Really?
Yeah. And I was part of the Jesus movement, and that was a group of people that was known for going out and going after it for the Lord. And it was because Jesus came into the lives of these people in such a radical way. I think sometimes when I was in the middle of the Jesus movement and seeing this stuff, I came at the tail end of that whole thing. But when I was seeing the things that Christians were doing for the Lord at that time, it was just a really natural thing for me, because I came from this lifestyle that was so messed up, and I had none of this. And when Jesus came into my life, it was like this radical change. It was something I wanted to share with the people who were around me. And I don't have this outgoing personality. Excuse me. I don't have this outgoing personality in the sense that I want to go out and preach on the streets all the time and that kind of thing. But I wanted to, in the sense that I wanted to share this stuff with people, and I thought that was just normal. Yeah. But I ran into people continually who went to different churches and grew up in the church and did not want to do that. They wanted to let their light shine. That whole thing of I'll just let my light shine, and if I need to share the gospel with words, then I'll do it. And that kind of attitude. And I saw that the whole time that I was growing up as a Christian. I just happened to be involved in a church that wasn't like that. I don't think that's normative. I don't think that's what a Christian is supposed to be like. And so Jesus said, freely you've received, freely give. And so the things that Jesus has given to me, I'm supposed to be giving out to the people who are around me. And I think that if you're not doing that, you need to have a fire lit under you so that you'll share with people. You don't have any business going to heaven without bringing somebody. And I think it's important that we do exactly that. So
I like that line.
Yeah.
Okay, good.